Welcome to the Permission Slip podcast, where I, empowerment coach, mindset expert, and holistic nutritionist, Carmen share. Welcome back to the Permission Slip podcast. So I have a quickie for you today. This is actually a replay of episode 52 that we did a couple of years ago, which was a behind the scenes of a workshop around how to delegate and set boundaries and create freedom in your life. So I took out a really important section, and this episode is one of the most highly downloaded episodes that we've ever done. Maybe because it's short and sweet and to the point, but this topic that we're talking about is something we talk about all the time in Flow Academy. And it's the idea of being in control of creating freedom in our life, freedom with our decisions, with our time, with our energy. And it's just this one idea that's so simple that it's just often overlooked. And I really want you to listen to this episode, and I really want you to take it in and then do the work that I ask you to do in the episode. If you have time, listen to the whole thing, because it's really going to go ahead and drop you into the present moment first. We're going to connect with our breath. And then there's some really key points that I want you to hear that I know will resonate with you and really push you closer to not only designing and dreaming a life that you love and that you're in awe of, but actually taking the steps to live it. Because that's what it's all about. I know we were talking about that in Flow Academy the other day. It's like often we get the information and we have the knowledge, but we're not fully integrating it to see how it works for us, figuring out and getting curious of how it works for us, and then implementing it so that we can change the life and it can change our lives, and it can be the catalyst for the direction that we want to go. So listen to this episode. I know you're going to get a ton from it. There is a workbook from that whole workshop that I did that you can get in the show notes too, if you want to grab that and go through the whole thing. But listen to this episode. I'm so excited for you to listen in, and shoot me a DM on Instagram and let me know your takeaways. So I'm talking all about setting boundaries, delegating, and saying no. I find that as I'm trying to look here, I think we might all be women that are on this. And so I'm going to speak to that. If not, if you're men, raise your hand, let me know. But as women, we think that we need to do it all, right? Society has programmed us that way. Welcome to the Permission Slip podcast, where I, empowerment coach, mindset expert, and holistic nutritionist, Carmen share with you the tools, conversations, and resources you need to write your own permission slip, take massive action, and become obsessed with your own life. Let's get started. And so to get started, if you've done any of my events, I always like to do just a little alignment practice, because in order to get here, you probably had to rush a little bit. You probably had to put something on your calendar. You had to go from one thing to the next thing. And here's a little tip that's a little off topic, but we all have so much on our plate. And if you can build in what I like to call transition rituals, so you can move from one activity or task to the next activity, fully present, letting go of the old and stepping into the new, you're going to find so much more joy into what you're doing. And so we'll use this as our transition ritual from your workday or whatever you were doing prior to this, to drop in, to reset, and then to be fully present in this moment here. So we're just going to do a little bit of breathing, because breath really reconnects us to our bodies. It takes us out of our mind that we are constantly in and back in our bodies, so we can feel really calm and at peace and aligned and centered. And so if you just joined and you can turn on your camera, I want to see your beautiful, gorgeous face. If not, then that's okay too. So here we go. So what we're going to do is we are just going to sit comfortably in our chair
And one thing I want you to notice is notice your sits bones. Are you sitting equally on both booty cheeks or are you cocked off to the side? So try and sit equally and working your way up with your spine and your shoulders. Roll them up to your ears and then back and down. Think about how often we're maybe not way up here, but just a little bit. That causes tension throughout our whole body. So let's just roll them around a couple of times and then just sit them comfortably wherever they sit, sitting equally on your sits bones, placing your hands in your lap and your feet flat on the floor if you can touch. I'm shorty, so I can't even touch the floor right now. Spine straight, and just do a light close of the eyes if that feels good to you. If not, just looking at the tip of your nose. And what we're going to do is we are going to breathe in 4 strokes through our nose and then 1 long breath out through our mouth. So I'll do it for you here. And right now, just concentrate on your breathing, just breathing normally. So it's going to be like this. And if you want to make that last out breath audible, that feels really freaking good. So I encourage you to try it. So when you're ready, let's start with the 4 strokes in. And 1 out. And 1 more. And when you're ready, you can just open your eyes, feeling fully oxygenated, feeling relaxed a little bit. And yay, I'm so happy to see more beautiful faces now that we opened our eyes. So that is our alignment practice. So how the heck are you going to remember that, or when do you need that? You need that maybe anytime you're transitioning from one thing to the next, like I shared, or anytime, you know, that feeling that you get in your chest, that tightness in your shoulders, in your stomach, and you're thinking about your to-do list and you just feel really overwhelmed and like there's so much going on. That's when you can be self-aware and you can stop yourself, be like, oh yeah, what was that 4th thing that Carmen said? Oh yeah, I just need to relax, move through my body, 4 breaths of 4 strokes in and 1 out with the audible sigh. It feels so good, right? And so you can take that with you. You can put that in your pocket, put a little bow on it, and you can use it anytime. And that's what I'm really big about is anything that you get from whenever you listen to me, I want you to have at least one takeaway, one resource, one tool, one new connection, something that you can actually implement in your life. Because it's one thing to be inspired. It's one thing to learn something. It's one thing to read a book or go to a conference or do the thing. But guess what? It does nothing for you if you do nothing with it. So embody something you learned today and don't wait for tomorrow. Try it out later today and see how it fits for you. So I'm going to be going over the packet that was sent out via email that looks like this. It's like a picture of me. It might be at a women's conference that you know. But it says saying no, delegating, and setting boundaries. And it would have came in an email to you. But if you didn't get it, get out a piece of paper. Don't fret over it or anything. And you can just follow up with Nikita at the chamber later and she'll just shoot that right over to you. Or you can follow up with me. My email is carmen@carmenoline.com and I'll put it in the chat box. I also want to let you know that we can utilize the chat box today. And I'll be doing Q&A at the end. So you don't have to worry about it. But if a question comes up, write that question down because you're going to forget. And if you say, I'm not going to forget, I'll remember. Seriously, you're going to forget because you're going to be getting a lot of information. So write it down. And I'm going to put my email in the chat box right now so I don't forget to share that with you just in case you don't have the packet. Carmen@carmenoline.com. Okay, there we go. And I just sent it privately to not the whole group. Let's try that again. So we're going to dive right into the packet. And I have a few things that I want to just share with you at the beginning, because if you have to leave early, like Janet said, she has to leave earlier. Maybe some of you do need to leave early. A few key points, but our agenda first is going to be, we're going to welcome. We already welcomed each other. We did our alignment exercise. We're going to do a self-assessment. So I want you to have access to your calendar over the last couple of weeks, whether that be on your phone or your computer. And I understand if you need to like change up your camera during that time. I'm going to give you 4 simple tips to get started in setting boundaries, saying no, and delegating. And we're going to make commitment to ourselves, and then Q&A and resources. Sound good? Everybody ready? Okay. So a couple key points is, you know, all that shit that you have on your plate right now, guess what? It's there because you said yes to it. All the stuff is on your plate right now. It's there because you said yes to it. And you have the opportunity to choose. That's the first thing. If you don't take anything else away, that could be an important little takeaway that you could tie with a little bow. The next one is that most of us are working so hard to pay for a life that we can't even enjoy. Working so hard to pay for a life that we can't even enjoy. What does that feel like when I say that? Because you know what? A lot of the things that we're worried about each and every day is not even the shit that matters. And the shit that matters, we're putting on the back burner. You say, oh no, I put this first. Like, I want you to make sure that today you're calling yourself out on your own BS. What we want to do and what's in our mind is oftentimes different than what's happening in reality. And I want to tell you that it's not all your fault, although we do need to start taking radical responsibility for our own lives, because somewhere along the line, we've learned that as women, as successful women, we need to be able to do it all. We need to be able to take care of our home and our kids if we have them, our significant other if we have one, make sure they are all great and wonderful. We need to be everywhere in the community. We have to have a successful career. We need to be everything to everyone at every single moment, which leaves us with nothing. And again, we're working really freaking hard at it. So hard, in fact, that we can't even enjoy our own lives. And you know what? That thing about overwhelm, how I said, like, the things that are on your plate are there because you said yes to it. The only reason it's there is because you're choosing it. And we oftentimes say that we're overwhelmed, but I want to call out your BS right here. It's not that you're overwhelmed or that you have too much to do. It's that you're not clear on what you want. You don't have any defined priorities. I'm going to say that again. You're not overwhelmed. It's just the fact that you're not clear on what you want out of your life. What do you want to experience? So if you only get those few messages, I want you to really think about those and think about, like, okay, what is it do I want? I often ask that question to a lot of my one-on-one coaching clients that I work with. What do you want? It's hard to answer. But when you can get clear on that, it gets really easy to decide what to say no and yes to. It's like your barometer. Does it fit? Nope. Is it easy and simple to do? Is it easy and simple to say no and to live that way so you can experience your own life, because that's what it's all about? It's not, but it's worth it. Okay, so I want everyone to pop into the chat box. What area in your life do you feel the most overwhelmed with? Oftentimes we have like these buckets of life. It might be our career or business. It might be our personal relationship. It might be our friends and family. It might be our relationship with ourselves. It might be our spiritual or our giving back in the community. Pop in the chat box, because I want to make sure I'm talking about the things that add value to all of you. And so if I need to change up my outline a little bit, then I can do that. So go ahead and pop in the chat box where you feel the most overwhelmed. So far we have working kids, home life and family relationships. Let's get a couple more people. I want to let you know that we all here, all of us are more the same than we are different. We all have the same like limiting beliefs. We all have the same BS that we need to call ourselves out on. We all go through the same struggles. And the most amazing part of this human existence is shared vulnerability. So we're doing that today.